In a world where we are constantly bombarded with news about earthquakes, forest fires, or floods, or landslides, it's not surprising to see an alarming increase in eco-anxiety over the past few years. Yes, eco-anxiety, I'm sure, is a word or a term that is new to a lot of you, but it's becoming more and more common these days. So, are you somebody who can't fall asleep because of constant thought of the impact of climate change? Or does the unsustainable habits of your friends or family make you feel even more guilt with no reason of your own? Or do you always feel a sense of doom when you hear about the rising sea levels? Then, welcome to the world of eco-anxiety, my friend. So, what is eco-anxiety? Broadly speaking, it's fear, anger, resentment, guilt, or any intense emotions that you feel about climate change. So, each of us will have anxious thoughts every now and then, and that's a very rational feeling, especially when we find something uncomfortable or threatening. But with all the ecological crisis that we see these days, eco-anxiety is a very common emotion. And it's totally normal to feel that way, especially when we feel a threat to our future because of all the crises that we see. So, how did eco-anxiety come into my life? So, this happened to me around years back, at least 2 or 3 years back, when I was transitioning into a more sustainable life. So every time I went to the grocery store and I saw people taking their grocery in the plastic covers that the shopkeepers gave them in without bringing their own cloth bags or any bag, it would make me wonder why I was doing what I did. Or if, say, I went to a beach and I saw the mindless littering over there, it made me feel like nobody could understand what was happening around them. And it made me feel like a fool to take that extra step towards being kinder to nature. And weddings were another anxiety trigger because these days I saw all the weddings were using single-use plastic cutlery where there was always an option of using steel ones. And this made me feel extremely cynical towards people and their wastefulness. So it got to such a point where I was simply overthinking about everything that I was doing, trying to analyze the impact that each of my step would have on the environment. And this took a very heavy toll on my mental health, my relationships, and even my work. There were days when I would just sit and cry because of feeling helpless about not knowing what more to do, helpless about not being able to make people understand why their actions had a large impact on earth, why I was doing what I was doing. And mostly I also felt very alone because nobody in my family was following this lifestyle. They did not understand it, they did not care about it. So it felt like a very lonely journey to me. And it made me feel extremely drained all the time. But over time, I started reading about climate crisis and it led me to the word eco-anxiety, which I was not familiar with earlier. And then I connected that to what I used to feel all the time in the start of this journey for me. And everything started falling into place. I started understanding why I kept feeling a certain way all the time. And I started realizing that I needed to help myself first before I could help others. I wanted to help others, but if I did not deal or cope with what I was going through, I was going to be of no help to anybody. The first thing I started doing was to stop blaming myself for other people's habits or lifestyles. Because every time I used to see my parents go out to shop without taking their shopping bags, I would feel the guilt about not putting into their head that it was important to do that. I would blame myself all the time, in spite of knowing that it was their habit. And I would even blame myself for small slip-ups that even I would have. I kept blaming myself for everything, for everybody, for everybody's responsibilities, for everything that I could not do. And one thing I started realizing is that there is always option of you telling others what they may be doing wrong, because sometimes people do things without having any knowledge of what they are doing. So it is your responsibility to let them know what they're doing. But after that, that's it. You let them be. It's their decision of what they do with the advice you've given them. It's not upon you to enforce it into their life. All you did was tell them and let it be. You've done what was your responsibility, and then you needed to know where to stop. So I started telling myself that I can only control what I could, which is my habit. And I just let it be at that point. So the second thing I did was to start small. Because if we start doing everything all at once, it just becomes extremely overwhelming. Because I know when we start this journey, we are all extremely super excited and we want to do so many things at once. We are excited, we want to make all the difference in the world quickly. But that does not get you anywhere. That just tires you out and makes you go back to your old wasteful habits. Instead, start small. Maybe start with taking a cotton shopping bag every time you step outside your house. You may never know when you may need that bag, even if you're not intending to go shopping that day. You never know. So I always keep my shopping bag with me every time I step out. That could be something you do for a couple of weeks until it becomes a very normal habit in your life. And it doesn't feel like a duty. It becomes just a part of your life. After that, you can go on to the next step, which could be using a bamboo toothbrush instead of your plastic ones, or saying no to single-use plastic products. It could be any of those steps, and then continue that for a few weeks to make that part of your life. It shouldn't feel like a burden to you. It should feel like a very natural thing for you to do. So I would always say start small, because it doesn't tire you out when you take it slow. Another step I did was to try and seek a community of sustainable people. So when I started out, I was completely alone in this journey. I had nobody to talk about this, or who could understand where I was coming through, or discuss my frustrations and everything. Nobody was there, because I did not have any friends or family who understood or wanted to follow this sustainable lifestyle. And it does feel like an extremely lonely phase in my life. And one thing I did right was to seek these people from social media. That's why I absolutely love social media, to connect with people who are like-minded like me, who believed in the same things as me, in living a more sustainable, less impactful life. And I have been able to connect with those people, and they are those people I could vent to, I can talk about, and who understand where I'm coming from, who feel the same way, whose life is also similar to mine. And it is one of those things that will help you stay rooted to your cause. So having more people join you in this journey makes you feel more and more stronger about your cause. So 2 years back, for the first time ever, I participated in a beach cleanup in my hometown of Trivandrum. So the lady who organized this cleanup was almost convinced that there would be maybe a handful of people coming to help out. But we were all fairly surprised to see 40 individuals come together. The beach was left spotlessly clean, and the trash was segregated and taken for recycling. The relief, the pride that I felt that day is not something I can explain. And what it taught me is that taking part in a physical activity makes you feel like you are part of this. You're doing something to help the nature. You're actually physically doing something to make a difference. And this is a feeling I feel will help lower your anxiety. So please take part in cleanups or go plogging or take part in climate strikes, because it does make you feel more involved and therefore reduce your feeling of helplessness. So another step that I took was to get closer to nature. So it could be just going to your nearby park or sitting in your balcony and just absorbing nature, taking care of my plants, getting my hand dirty, just walking barefoot on the grass. So these are just small things that helps you stay connected to Mother Earth. And it always brought a very calming effect on me. So whenever I felt that anxiety was rising in me, I would just go and do something close to nature, and that definitely helped me stay a little more calmer. So a few months back, when eco-anxiety seemed really hard to manage by myself, I took a major step. I started going for therapy. So it helped me keep my anxiety accounted for, because I was able to understand where it all stemmed from. So if you're somebody who's finding it really hard to manage your eco-anxiety, I would definitely recommend you to go and seek professional help, because it does help you, and it does help you figure out all that confusion in your mind. It has definitely taken me 3 years to get to this place where I'm able to manage my eco-anxiety way better than I was 3 years ago. It does happen every now and then. I know that it may never go away from my life, and I've accepted that. It's just become a part of my life, but I've managed to cope up with it, and I've managed to control it and not let it control me. And it's totally okay if you experience it occasionally, because it is something that is always an ongoing process, because you learn new things about yourself once you understand your eco-anxiety. I'm very sure the coping methods that I've mentioned here will definitely help you out. If there are times when you feel like it's going out of your hand, please seek professional help, because it will help you like nothing else would. And know that no matter what, it is going to be easier for you in time, and you will be able to manage it in your daily life. So until that day, stay safe and stay sustainable.